My name's Eli, and today we're going to learn how to pilot the Ascendant Ball Lightning Archmage. The thing about this build is that it kicks ass. It doesn't care about any modifier except for Elemental Reflect. Of course, extra damage taken modifiers and enemy monster resistances, these all do affect the build, but not really to the point of making you change your playstyle all that much. So here we've picked Arachnid Tomb. We have 4 of our sextants on there, so we're just going to go ahead and run this. And I'm going to talk through with some syndicates added what we're doing. Now Arachnid Tomb, the map layout isn't ideal for this build as well, so I think that'll be a good baseline. And we'll start by getting our Foreboding Eternal Mana Flask going here. As you can see, I have a bunch of charges being used, and we're just going to run through here. Notice how I'm continually hitting my 1 key, and maybe if we can get inside some of these shields. Fortunately, we do have a fair amount of block, and I'm going to turn on Veil Grace here. There's a lot of shield stuff going on. We'll just continue hitting our... Oh, Spell Echo went up. Back up, I should say, to 20, and we can throw on our Stormbrand if we want to get some power charges. Not usually necessary for mapping. You notice right there I flame dashed back after I threw out a set of Ball Lightning, because Lair invincible, and by the time there's a time discrepancy, right, between the time that my lightning balls get to the allies can't die shrine and the time in which they can attack. So that entire group of mobs would have gotten an attack off before they all died. It is possible, if enough of them got through my dodge and block, that we could have died there. So we flame dash back. Here we have a wall. And we'll just throw on Veil Grace here too, and we'll just kind of sit here and tank them. Get that. Sure. Pick up this. We'll take that. And a little bit of time has passed, so let's rev up our mana flask here again. Got an assassin. Silly Riker. Tor moves to intervention. Sure. Alright, so we're still going here with our Mana Flask charges. And notice our mana pool here. We are getting mana back on kill, but as you can see, it's kind of just spiking up whenever we use it. Ooh, that was a big hit. Oh. I'll throw on our Veil Grace here. Oh my goodness. Look at all this nonsense. Do we care about any of this? Not really. So, keep moving on. We'll cut back here. Oops. Didn't have my mana flasks going, so we're going to wait. Get a little mana back here. Jump in and kill that little totem. So as you can see, we kind of run around and we don't really care about a whole lot. And that's the beauty of this build. We can also spam our flasks because we are slowed here, looks like. This guy does have... Yeah, we are getting slowed here by a lot. Yep. So the reason that took so long in particular is most likely because of the 34% monster life, the fact that they have a 70% chance to avoid being shocked, which doesn't help us, as well as, where is it? They have 47% resistance. So we could have swapped in our slower projectiles if we wanted to make that a little bit faster, but yeah, we left GMP in and it worked out just fine. Before we move forward, I'd like to take a moment and talk about the defensive layers of this build, because they're rather significant. At its base, we have 20% chance to dodge, attack, and spell hits. This is because of our boots, and because we have a 5,000 plus mana pool. Now, we also have Veil Grace that we use, and at level 20, it's going to be 34% of each. So for the 10.5 seconds or so that we have Veil Grace up and running, we'll be rocking 54% chance to dodge spell attacks and spell hits and normal attacks. On top of that, we have chance to block attack damage and spell damage. These are two different layers. And when we level up one more time, we will get Enigmatic Defense, which is another 5% chance for each. And if we crit, we also get more block chance. So the final numbers on our block is going to be 20% for attack damage, assuming we've crit recently, which we probably have, and 41% chance to block spell hits. So both these layers work together. When an attack comes in, the defensive layers will roll a chance to dodge and a chance to attack. If they fail the roll, if the enemy fails the roll, then you dodge or block that damage. If they get through, we have next on our layers Mind over Matter. 30% of the damage that actually hits us gets taken from mana first. This is amplified by our chess piece, which has another 10% damage taken from mana over life. So this works together for a total of 40%. That roll is going to be between 5 and 10%, so take your pick. And so if an attack gets through or a spell actually hits you, 40% of that damage, upwards of, is being taken from your 6,500 mana pool first before hitting life. Now, what happens when you actually take life damage? We have the agnostic as well, so 20% of our mana pool is being converted into life regeneration per second. Couple this with the fact that this build uses a foreboding mana flask all of the time, so our mana pool is consistently jumping up back to full 6,500. So if you do get hit, you will continuously have an extra 6,500 mana to be used as a 40% damage taken pool, as well as a regeneration pool. As if that wasn't enough, periodically we also have our Arcane Cloak that I bind to my left click because the downtime is so negligible that it's just useful to have it up all the time whenever it can be. And as you can see, we have 4164 of a shield, and a percentage of that gets through 75% damage goes from the buff first. So put more simply, 40% of the damage taken goes to mana, and then the damage that actually goes through, 75% of that goes into that shield first. So you have an extra buffer of around 4164 hit points. Layers on layers on layers. Okay, back to the clips. Now this is taken directly from my stream. You can see me kind of in the background there behind my chair. I wanted to point this one out because we're taking on an Abyss and Syndicate members at the same time. And you'll notice we're using a lot of Flame Dash to move around here and reposition ourselves. And right about here, you'll notice we get chunked out a little bit. There it is. So you see how our mana pool, go back and watch that in slow motion again. Our mana pool and our health pool kind of dip, so mana goes down here pretty low and health kind of inches down a little bit. Those are the defensive layers that we're talking about. There's dodge hits, there's block hits, there's the arcane shield from the arcane cloak, and there's the regeneration going through, as well as the mana flask that is spiking up our mana. So just a quick example. So there we saw we swapped in slower projectiles here, and I can certainly play this fight better, but this is going to be one of all of the Guardian fights that we have. As you can see down on the bottom, I'm still using a lot of my Mana Flask charges. The build gains a lot of Mana Flask extra charges, especially, as well as the passive gain from the Sub-Ascendancy from Pathfinder. And so we're running around We do have Veil Righteous Fire at this point. I actually don't have Veil Grace on at this point in the build. This was taken just a couple days ago. And we get our mana back. We dodge away from the explosion. We don't really care about the ambient damage in this fight. As you can see, we're kind of walking through the flames. We're completely ignoring the little baby phoenixes, and he's dead. And here we have Hydra. We decided to leave on our GMP. And we'll see there, pretty quick phasing. Kill the extra mobs, we block that big ice ball there. As you can see, our mana is just kind of spiking up. We take some hits there, mostly to see what would happen. We get chunked a little bit, but with the mana regeneration from the flask, no big deal. Only phases once. Pretty clean fight. Here we've got our Minotaur fight, and we're starting to load up here. I believe we do change to, yeah, we took out our GMP, put in slower proj. I was a little bit concerned. There's a good point of damage right there. I was a little concerned about the hits, so I kind of wanted to stay close to him and take some, see if he could actually hit us. He does hit us there once. One of the falling rocks does hit us for a big chunk of damage. But for the most part, and this is without Veil Grace on, we just tank him. And here we are with the Chimera. And much of my playstyle here is centered around wanting to see if I can tank him. And it looks like, you know, for the most part, we can take a number of hits, which is really nice because any hits you can take from a boss mob means essentially you can make that many mistakes, right, in your gameplay. And here I try to switch out my gems while in the middle of the fight. Not a great idea unless you're much faster than I am, but we just pop right back in. We start loading up our foreboding mana flask, and we will zoom on back into the fight. Almost die again because I had to scratch my nose or something stupid. And I throw down the Sigil of Power because we've got the red name bomb over there, so Chimera's coming back. A little preload damage, we look around. The defensive layers for that phase are also very helpful as you try to find the smoke cloud. And, you know, as with most of these boss fights, and maybe all boss fights in the game, for the most part, it's really about learning the mechanics, and then the question is, do you have enough damage, right? Most of the damage you can avoid in the game with proper positioning and knowing what's about to happen. Obviously, you will take some damage sometime. I'm not saying you know, you get what I'm trying to say. So we have another phase there, smoke phase, and phased him out. I decide to just chill out here, try to generate some charges. Throw on Sniper's Mark on him for some additional charges, a nice little boost for our mana. Dead. Easy. We also threw in a Shaper just to take a look at how it does. As you can see here, it gives a good idea of the damage that it deals. And I won't take up your time with showing the in-between phases, just want to take a look at the actual Shaper fight itself. Because if you can kill Shaper, the interim phases really aren't a problem for you. As you can see here, killing these summons really is just a whole lot of nothing. And as long as you understand when his beam is coming and when his big slam is coming around, then you are good to go. And let's skip forward here. And we'll skip over to the final phase of the fight. If you can kill the first phase, you can basically beat the whole fight, and we'll avoid the slam. And then we just lay into him, Veil Righteous Fire, and he's dead. So, easy peasy, no problem for the Shaper. Also take a look at the Eradicator fight here. This build does exceptionally well with medium heavy hits because it does like to regenerate itself, and the mana flask just, whenever we get hit, we just bam, right back to full mana, which is our both offensive and defensive capability in one. And again, I'm not playing, I'm just watching from my own stream here. As you can see, there I am with better lighting. And the tickle fingers here don't really do much to us. And phased again. And boom. The path of building will go over the gem links and the items I'm using, but for this video, for the person who's deciding, do I really want to get involved in this build, I'll throw this out there. The most expensive pieces that you're going to run into for this build, first of all, the 6-link Pledge of Hands, last I knew was about 5.5x. This is before the Chaos Exalt price shenanigans, so it was relatively expensive. The armor was not so much super expensive, might have been a couple of exalts, but it was just kind of difficult to find the nice balance between a super overpowered chest that had also exploding death kills and other mods that make it just like 50 or 100 exalts. That's maybe the hardest part of finding the chest. You really want the spell critical chance. That's really rather important. And the damage to mana, of course, is also very strong. In third place, I would say the Omayokan boots are usually like 100 chaos, something like this, mid-league. And maybe the belt and ring at the end of the day. These kind of final versions that I have settled on are, this was maybe 90 chaos mid-league, and this I bought a few days ago for 3 exalts. So overall, maybe around 10 exalts or so. Maybe 11. And when I say 10 to 11 exalts, I mean roughly total cost for the build. This build can function as you upgrade piece by piece. Let's cap this off with a fight unedited versus Uber Elder. I make some mistakes in this fight, but I think those mistakes are ultimately to your benefit, as they showcase a little bit of the potential damage and potential survivability that this build has. As always, if this video helped you or you like this type of guide, let me know by hitting like and subscribe. Until next time, stay sane, exiles.
Can I not have? It's happening, isn't it? The Elder is on its way.
I may not run.
Father, no!
Putrefy, rot, spoil, and fester.
Exile, do something! I have nothing more to give.
Okay. Okay, we can't damage during that phase. Got it.
Gaze into the abyss.
Can I not have but a moment's respite?
Shoot.
I have nothing more to give.
Darn. Ooh.